guys at the deadline last year with Camilla Duvall and Bednar, and we have a lot of quality young.
If I got to hear about the trade deadline of last year again, Brian Cashman, I'm going to walk into traffic. All right? Last year is over. We know what happened. Stop saying Duvall and Bednar's name like a mental patient. You haven't done enough this offseason to make the Yankees better. Period. Stop. Unless you expect everybody in this farm system and the people who were on their first-year contract last year to take a step in the right direction, this team's going to be worse than last year, Brian. And now I'm getting more agitated as I listen to this guy's interviews. He does not give a shit about this interview. He does not give a shit about what the fans think. Is he a good general manager? Absolutely. But this interview, man, is brutal. And I'm leaving it. I'm not editing any of this. I'm going to post this as is because I'm about to lose my mind.
Lie, lie, and lie.
Good evening and welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. Boop, boop. All aboard the Brian Cashman excuse train. We've got the Brian Cashman exclusive interview with SNY. It's New York Minute Sports. It's New York Sports for New York Nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got 13 days until pitchers and catchers, folks. Let's go!
It's New York Minute Sports.
Well, there you have it, folks. Welcome to another installment of the New York Minute Sports Show. We got Brian Cashman on SNY. They've been quiet all off season. They were not giving us any information out of Yankee land. Now this is pretty much the post-mortem of what went down in the offseason. We could have used some reports, Brian, about a month ago to tell us what your plans are so the Yankee fan base doesn't lose their mind. But I'll tell you, some of the biggest issues with the Yankees fans right now is the fact that we theoretically have the same exact team that we had last year. So what's Brian Cashman's excuse? What's his train of thought? And what's the front office feeling about the moves they made this offseason? Because a lot of Yankee fans are saying it's not enough. Let me know in the comments below, Yankee fans, and even Red Sox and Blue Jays fans. Did the Yankees make enough moves this offseason to be a contender for the AL East and to make it back to the World Series? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's go to Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman.
Hey, Brian. Just, I guess, what went into your interest in bringing Cody back and just what got this deal done in the end?
I mean, he's a hell of a baseball player. Really talented, multi-positional talented, middle lineup type bat. Extremely intelligent player, just provides a lot of security, a lot of flexibility, a lot of.
Actually, real quick, let's go to Cody. Hey, Cody, how do you feel about that new contract, brother?
Forgot the question again. These Zooms are throwing me for a loop. What was your question again? Forgot the question again. These Zooms are throwing me for a loop. What was your question again?
How would you describe the negotiations and taking this long and at this point in the offseason not knowing for sure until, recently whether you would have Cody at your disposal?
I mean, you have to go through the process. We're negotiating with a Titan, Scott Boras. So, and the marketplace. So it took me and Hal and Randy Levine, and so three of us to try to figure out a solution that would, make sense for everybody involved, and try to outpace the market. Because clearly Cody would be a player in demand because, again, he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do a lot of different things that are important.
And the versatility of Cody Bellinger is why he makes it so appealing to the New York Yankees. But what Brian Cashman doesn't know is the reason that we got to go out and get players that field multiple positions is because you didn't go out and get the guys that could field the positions. The Yankees defense is piss poor and has been for the last 2 or 3 years. I say this as a joke. The New York Yankees run their team like a beer softball league. Hey, Jim from accounting, he used to play lacrosse in high school, so let's put him at third base. Everybody's been out of position defensively on this team. Even the captain of the team, Aaron Judge, had to play a different position for somebody that he brought in. So now when you go and get a guy like Cody Bellinger, I don't want to hear about him playing first base. First base is going to be Ben Rice's spot, and Cody Bellinger is going to fluctuate anywhere in between the outfield and DH because, mark my words, Aaron Judge is going to be the first baseman of the New York Yankees in about 1 to 2 years. With that frame in right field, you cannot risk injury anymore. And Aaron Judge did play first base in college, has tried it in spring training. Keep an eye out for it this spring training. I bet you will see Aaron Judge with a first baseman's mitt in his hand to alleviate it from Ben Rice. But they're also talking about getting Paul Goldschmidt back. I don't want that. The guy completely fell out of gas. After 2 months of hitting .411, Paul Goldschmidt completely fell on his face and ran out of gas.
Important to help you win games. And so, we just stayed on it, but there was always uncertainty. When you go into the marketplace, you just, it's safer to bet the field because you just it's so unknowing what's going to happen. But thanks to Hal Steinbrenner, especially, and the Steinbrenner family, they allowed us to stay in it in a very significant way. And the communication level with Scott Boras was obviously always high caliber. And so it doesn't really matter how long it takes. It ultimately matters if you can land where you want to land.
Yeah, but John Heyman has a completely different take on that. He was saying the Yankees' negotiating skills are outdated, and there was a little bit of beef between Scott Boras and Brian Cashman. Notice the cheeky smile on Cashman's face, calling him a titan of the industry with a little bit of a smirk on his face. I think it's a love-hate relationship major with the Yankees and Scott Boras, because if you notice, the Yankees are filled with nothing but Scott Boras clients on their team for the last 20 years, and he runs roughshod on them. Scott Boras bends the Yankees over a barrel. They know it, and whenever they got to do dealings with this guy, they're like, ah, shit, not him again.
Arms are high caliber that are going to try to push their way in the mix, and we're going to continue to evaluate all choices that come our way. So it is a work in progress, but I do think that we have a lot of quality choices at the very least that we can fall back on if we do nothing more. But the job at hand is to see if we can improve in any aspect of the roster that we can. And
we have a lot of names we can fall back on. Guess what? You're the Yankees. You shouldn't be falling back on anybody. It should be lock and load. Shouldn't be a fallback guy on the New York Yankees when he got $300 million payroll. I'm increasingly starting to get more upset at Brian Cashman. I think I might have to stop this video for my mental health.
And we'll continue to look at that.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah.
Dan Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, any update on Anthony Volpe?
Yeah, I'm here in Tampa, and I see Anthony every day. He's doing.
Yeah, he's Italian. He's from Jersey. Grew up a Yankee fan. I sold a bill of goods to the Yankee fan base when I said he's going to be the next Derek Jeter. He's going to have 30 home runs and 30 steals and be a doubles machine and hit 280 and possibly be a leadoff hitter. Yeah, Brian, how's that guy doing? The guy that you treated like a rented mule last year, the guy that you played in 152 games with a torn labrum after you saw him injure himself in May?
Doing great.
Yeah, that guy, Bri. How's he doing?
He's, his rehab is doing well. He's in good spirits, and he's looking forward to, getting back and joining us when he's 110%, so we can deploy him properly.
Anthony Volpe, real quick. I think he could be good at a platoon. 128 games playing a position. If he can stay healthy, he plays well after days of rest. And I think that they overplayed this kid way too much. He was brought up a year early, just like Austin Wells was, because of roster spots. But this is the thing, man. It keeps coming back to Brian Cashman not preparing this roster, having a bloated salary, and not turning around and not having the guys. Like, if the Yankees didn't re-sign Cody Bellinger, they would have been fucked. You got a $300 million payroll. Cody Bellinger walks out the door, and now your franchise is fucked. That's not a good sign of filling out a roster. Now, listen, man, I don't know if he has a secret weapon. He has these guys down in the farm system that he knows are going to be studs, and he's just laughing and kicking his feet up. That's why I say this spring training is going to be one of the most competitive and one of the most interesting in the last 10 years for the New York Yankees, because they are building from the farm system, and I'm very, very excited to see these young arms.
Properly. So, but so far so good. No issues on his rehab protocols.
What's the timeline coming up for him?
I'm not going to provide a timeline, but I'll let Booney and the staff provide that when spring training up.
And if Anthony Volpe is hurt until around the trade deadline, which they moved up to August 3rd this year, by the way, breaking news. If Brian Cashman says we're bringing Anthony Volpe back and it's almost like an acquisition at the trade deadline, I'm going to rip out all of my hair with a clamshell live right here, New York Minute Sports. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe.
Is up and running, but he's here working his tail off as expected and with a smile on his face and fully committed. So I look forward to him rejoining us at shortstop at some point, sooner than later, but I don't want to put a time frame on it.
Thanks.
Kirshner, you're next. Go ahead.
Hey, Cash, I'm going to ask you a similar question I asked Aaron, but with you guys appearing to mostly be running it back with a similar roster, what makes you believe that you can get better results this year with that same roster?
First, we have good players. It's a collection of really talented players. It's not the same roster. I would differ there. We have some players.
The only reason it's not the same roster, Brian, is because guys left. That's the only reason it's not the same roster. It's not the same roster because you went out and dominated this offseason and got guys that we needed. The market was thin, I'll give you that. But, man, this guy's got more excuses than a pregnant nun, man, and it fucking kills me.
At some point returning from the IL that are, important players. Gerrit Cole being obviously one of them. But we've had some additions, from the second half that, got their feet wet with the Yankees, some with success, some with, failures or success. But, once they'll now be in a position to join us with their feet on the ground and getting their sea legs under them. With the manager too, learning how to utilize these guys and where they slot and everything else. So and I use the shortstop that'll be manning shortstop as an example until Volpe's back. We added a lot of weapons at the deadline and all finding their proper slots, maybe, and how to be utilized and deployed. And also,
do you want to take a second to touch on something that I think is really important? I'm a huge advocate for mental health on this page. You guys already know, especially
growing pains of competing in the New York arena, getting some exposure to postseason baseball, especially in the American League. I think all that will serve us well. So I disagree. It's the same team running it back. It's going to be some differences, and the competition is going to be different too. In some cases, some teams got better. In other cases, some teams you could argue maybe got a little worse.
Yeah, but I don't really see this team like on the come up, right? So I think these are the guys that are going to have an improved year this year. I think Anthony Volpe will have an improved year. There's only way but up, okay? I think Austin Wells will have a better year with not losing spots to Ben Rice behind the plate and maybe not so many injuries. But if you expect Trent Grisham to put up the same amount of numbers, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. If you think Cody Bellinger is going to have a bounce-back year to what he had last year, it's not going to happen. What goes up must come down in baseball. And I love that Brian Cashman is a lot more confident in this team taking a step in the right direction next year. We're one injury away from this team being in fucking problem.
Division's the best in baseball. But long story short, one series, make or break is not going to define what we think our capabilities are. I do, and we all understand it. In postseason baseball, you got to bring your best baseball every series. And if you don't, you're going home. But doesn't mean that we weren't capable of great things. We just didn't get the job done in that time frame against the Toronto Blue Jays, the defending American League champs, with which they've earned everybody's respect in the industry. So we're all gunning for them first and foremost in the division as well as the league. And ultimately, the big prize is what the Dodgers possess, is the World Championship trophy. But not afraid to run the quality of talented roster of players that we do have. I think we've been consistent with that throughout the entire winter. Anytime I've been openly willing to challenge anybody that we don't have a championship caliber roster and team. And it's our job to try to find ways to make it better along the way. And so with the young pups that have earned the right climbing up the ladder a little bit more, that are hungry and thirsty to push their way into the mix, with some of the guys that were out of commission on the IL, some of the new additions, whether it's, some of these big young arms that we just acquired, one from Colorado, one from the Marlins, a couple of weeks ago. Again, it's just going to be a little bit of a different mix, a little different feel. Everything's different. It's a different year. And we're looking for the different result, meaning a better result. And
I've said this before. I think the New York Yankees fan base needs to rethink this a little bit. I think we're stuck in the ways for the last 20 years of around the offseason, around Christmas time, we always have a shiny new mountain bike underneath the Christmas tree, a little basketball hoop, whatever little Timmy wanted, Timmy got, okay? Now that team is the Los Angeles Dodgers. The New York Yankees are going to have to try to change their approach with the luxury tax. Like, the New York Yankees just spent close to $86 million on that Cody Bellinger contract in 1 year. So they do things to help us. But the New York Yankees are building it with the youth, guys. They are going to rely on pitching and mitigating runs this year, just like the pivot from Juan Soto. This is going to be one of the most competitive spring trainings in the last 10 to 15 years on the New York Yankees. I think Brian Cashman has this smirk on his face that he knows something that we don't know. How many Cam Schlitlers are in the Yankees farm system with arms? I've said it before on this show. Brian Cashman is very good at creating arms now. He just needs to get better at making positional players, because Robinson Cano and Aaron Judge is the only two guys that he's produced in the last 20 years. Brian Cashman is going to sit here and tell you that the trade deadline of last year was his offseason of 2026. I think Brian Cashman saw the tea leaves, the writing on the wall, what have you, and he went out and acquired guys with 2 to 3 year contracts last year during the trade deadline, and now he's using this as almost a part 2 to the offseason, and now he got Cody Bellinger. I don't like the fact that Brian Cashman put the New York Yankees in a position where if we didn't get Cody Bellinger back, this team would have been fucked, because Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez, it doesn't seem like this organization is high on them, or as high as Cody Bellinger in his interview yesterday. But I digress. Let's go back to Brian Cashman's interview, which has been mind-numbing.
So I guess stay tuned and see where it takes us. We're excited by what we have and who they are. But I think you've heard me say many times, it doesn't matter what we say, it matters what we do. So we're looking forward to getting everybody to spring training and getting them working together, and hopefully being and remaining healthy and playing to the best of their abilities, and see where that takes us.
Brian, just wanted to ask you just where how Gerrit Cole and Carlos Rodón are doing in their off seasons. They're working their way back. Just how is that going?
So far, so good. Carlos is here in Tampa, and I think Gerrit will be joining sooner than later as well. And so no problem so far. No surprises so far.
Another problem with the New York Yankees. Max Fried had his largest workload last year. He's been known to have injuries. You have Carlos Rodón, who's coming back now with bone chips in his elbow. Not that major of a thing. Hopefully, it's not something bigger. So it looks like that's great news that Carlos Rodon's going to be in Tampa to start the year. Maybe not such great news that Gerrit Cole is not going to be in spring training right now. But at the same point, why rush him back? You got 10 pitchers. You don't need him for the first half of the season. Make sure that he's healthy. And another question I got to ask you, Gerrit Cole's getting up there in age, man. He's got a lot of mileage on his engine. What Gerrit Cole are we going to get back? You know, are we going to get Roger Clemens on the Blue Jays, or are we going to get Roger Clemens on the Houston Astros? With a little relish off that fastball. But if it is anybody I have confidence in to change their approach on the bump, it would be Gerrit Cole, because he's a student of the game. His baseball IQ is off the charts, but it's good to see. Yeah, you know what? I keep forgetting this, that last year the Yankees didn't have Gerrit Cole all season long. And when that happens to other franchises, man, they crumble. And the New York Yankees, they handled adversity well. Look at this guy. Look at those eyes. They handled adversity well last year.
In their rehab protocols, if anything, you got to, these are super competitors. If anything, you got to try to slow them down and protect themselves from themselves, per se, because they always want to do more sooner than later. They always feel like they're capable of doing things quicker than their timelines. And that's true of, you're dealing with these alpha dogs that are ready to conquer the world at all times. So,
Yeah, Gerrit Cole was like doing dry throws in his bedroom like 6 weeks after he got hurt. They're keeping him back like a wild stallion, because Gerrit Cole's a mental patient half the time. And he sounds like Kermit the Frog, but he's like, hey, man, I just want to throw 98-mile-an-hour fastballs in your ear hole. Okay?
Our medical team and rehab staff and the doctors involved are always, that's part of their process too, is making sure that, the baby steps, or the every step in this process gets hit first. And but when guys feel so good, they want to jump a few steps ahead of time and trying to keep the reins on to make sure that they stay in the proper time frame, so we get the ultimate result in the end, which is pure health the rest of the way. That's the ultimate goal. But they're doing great so far.
Take a final one from Greg Joyce. Greg, go ahead.
And adding Ryan Weathers, we haven't talked to you since then. What did you like about him, and what do you see for him?
Dude, I think Ryan Weathers is going to be the sleeper pick of the year. I've said this before. Randy Johnson, after the age of 30, I think he had 64 wins at the age of 30. He finished with 300, okay? These left-handers especially, I'm not going to say Weathers is going to be Randy Johnson, but these left-handers, they don't figure it out until later in life. 28, 30 years of age. Weathers is 27. He's got some of the best hit and miss stuff in Major League Baseball. I'm really pumped on this guy. He can be a middle relief guy. He can be a spot starter, and I like the youth. Brian Cashman has gotten younger, stronger arms, heavy arms. Let's go, baby. We're getting close to the pitchers and catchers.
Adding him to your staff.
Big arm. He's really talented. He's got control, obviously. So it's, I feel like we have a lot of high-end caliber, talented players, whether you're talking about Luis Hill or Will Warren, some of these names have done some things, Schlittler, LeGrand.
That's another thing. Will Warren and Clark Schmidt could be a 3-4 on, 21 teams in Major League Baseball. We've got about 8 on the tier of 3 to 4 starters. Does that make sense? Like number 3, number 4 starters, we got like 4 of them on our team, which isn't a bad thing, man. People will go down in spring training. It happened last year. That's why we were staring down the barrel of Cookie Carrasco and Marcus Stroman with a head tattoo saying, I'm a starter, making $18.8 million a year.
And Elmer Rodriguez, and, they're obviously pushing their way up the ladder. And,
Elmer Rodriguez, Lagrange, or Lagrange, I don't know I've only read his name, and I massacre names all the time, but those are the 2 major arms. Keep your ear out for that.
So there's an assortment of choices, and the job is to provide as many as you can you can possibly provide both in the rotation and bullpen, because you're going to need more than you ultimately have typically. So it was a great opportunity to add a high caliber arm and turn it over to our pitching personnel. I met Ryan Weathers for the first time the other day. He was here in Tampa. He returned home to Alabama, and he's
Ryan Weathers, one of the best, statistically best high school starting pitchers of all time. And his father, David Weathers, pitched for the Yankees from 95 to 97. So nice little story. Cody Bellinger, former Yankee, son of a former Yankee. Now David Weathers, son of a former Yankee. I like it.
He's going to come back now with his wife.
Brian, thanks for taking the time. You guys traded for Chivi earlier today. Just what do you guys like about him, and what do you think he can be away from course?
Asked about him, obviously, with the previous regime.
That's the flamethrower that they got from the Colorado Rockies yesterday, reliever, but has a 7 ERA, but can throw like 100 out of the bullpen. So I think Brian Cashman, look at those eyes, like a lifeless eyes, like Dallas eyes. I think they can get this guy in the house and they put him in the pitching lab and he can turn it around.
Under Billy Schmidt, and then, when they transitioned with Paul DePodesta and Josh Burns, who I've dealt with over the course of time in my career. I reintroduced his name amongst others of players that we would have an interest in. And he's a, 23-year-old power arm that's got, a tool package that's pretty exciting. He's got some flexibility because there's an option remaining in his, profile. And so he's got a year of service, some experience.
The Yankees are getting guys on their first 5 years of service in Major League Baseball. They're getting guys when they sign them that have 2 or 3 years on their contract, guys that aren't just going to turn up and walk away. And you see that because the Yankees just played pickup with Juan Soto walking away and Cody Bellinger just almost walked away. So I think that they're alleviating that by signing guys when they do with some relish on that hot dog, 2 to 3 years left on their contract. Look at Jazz, look at Caballero, look at Duvall, look at Bednar. All those guys, 2 more years after the Yankees sign them that they're available. It gives them financial stability. I think the New York Yankees are getting the books right. I think that they know that there's a salary cap coming, and they're starting to calibrate it monetarily, because I don't know what's going to happen to these big contracts when the salary cap hits in 26 and they had the existing salaries on the roster. I don't know how that's going to work out.
He's got a pick we selected. We just made this addition. So I think it's a work in progress with a lot of quality choices. And some might be emerging, talented players from our system. Some might be more imports like today, could be. I just say stay tuned. We added some guys at the deadline last year with Camilla Duvall and Bednar, and we have a lot of quality young.
If I got to hear about the trade deadline of last year again, Brian Cashman, I'm going to walk into traffic. All right? Last year is over. We know what happened. Stop saying Duvall and Bednar's name like a mental patient. You haven't done enough this offseason to make the Yankees better. Period. Stop. Unless you expect everybody in this farm system and the people who were on their first-year contract last year to take a step in the right direction, this team's going to be worse than last year, Brian. And now I'm getting more agitated as I listen to this guy's interviews. He does not give a shit about this interview. He does not give a shit about what the fans think. Is he a good general manager? Absolutely. But this interview, man, is brutal. And I'm leaving it. I'm not editing any of this. I'm going to post this as is because I'm about to lose my mind.
And settle here shortly the rest of the way. And so he's excited to be here. Our guys have been excited working with him. And hopefully we together can unlock some things, and he, his healthier years are right in front of him hopefully here in pinstripes, because the talent.
And you know what? They mentioned Weathers like a Nathan Eovaldi, the one that got away. Nathan Eovaldi. Look at what he did with his career after he left the Yankees. Same thing with Weathers' career. Weathers had some injuries. He's never really got it together. I think if you get him in the Yankees pitching lab, he is going to pay dividends big time. I think it's going to be one of the biggest signings of the offseason. But like I said, we got 12 days till pitchers and catchers. If you made it this far, you're a baseball nut, okay? You're a New York Minute nut at this point because this was brutal. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to come out with another video later today because this one is just unbearable. Hope you got something out of it. New York Minute. It's New York sports for New York nuts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, if you can't be good, bullshit like Brian Cashman and be bad, baby. Good night, Canada. Bye.